It's my feel-good breakfast show.
Welcome back. You're live with Expresso. Thank you so much for tuning in on this beautiful Wednesday morning. Ever more beautiful because the Springboks produced another stellar performance. One of their best, I think, in the Rugby World Cup thus far. Beating Canada in their final Pool B match to advance to the quarterfinals of the tournament and looking pretty strong in the process. Now the hard work really does begin for Rassie and his Chargers as they head into the knockout stages where some pretty tough competitors await, whether it's Ireland, whether it's Japan, we don't care. Here to help us review the match and throw forward is, of course, we're going to welcome him back. He was here yesterday. Our sports writer, Ryan Freder. Ryan, welcome back, dude.
Thank you for having me again.
It's so cool to have you here, man. Absolutely love your insights. And what a cool match to be looking back on. We were kind of jokingly saying before this that the South Africans are often we don't put in our best performances against weaker opposition. Often we can become very unstructured and not very clinical, but that wasn't the case. I think certainly the first half, beautiful, immaculate almost performance.
Yeah, so, I mean, the perspective is always that it's just Canada, but you can only play what's in front of you, right?
Sure.
And especially in the first 20 minutes of the first half, just the way they blitzed Canada, I mean, the game was done within the first quarter.
Yeah.
And so... I mean, we were speaking off-air about how clinical they were, how they stuck to their structures, because in a game like that, when you become unstructured, you give an opposition, like weaker opposition like Canada, look in, and then Japan can happen. But there was no chance. There was just no chance. They just killed them off in the first half. Maybe in the second half, they got a little bit unstructured, and the substitutions didn't help kind of with the synergy of the team.
Broke that concept.
But they done it. They done the job.
Kobus Reinach, I mean, you're winning when your third string, that must be said, all due respect, scrum half, is scoring a hat-trick, is showing that kind of blitzing speed in open play. Beautiful, probably the best executed box kicks we've seen. I think I can remember only one mistake really where he was caught between a box kick and a clearance kick and maybe didn't get the distance he wanted, but that was another immaculate performance.
Yeah, you bring up an important point because it's kind of fundamental to the way the Springboks play. Those box kicks. And I mean, just before we kind of elaborate on that, which team in the World Cup has a third string scrum half like Kobus Reinach, right? It's again testament to his talent, but not only that, just kind of how he's grown while he's played in Europe, and so yeah, fantastic. Just that kicking game again. I know the Boks have taken a lot of criticism about playing almost a pragmatic style, but the execution of that tactic,
you do it right,
was excellent, and yesterday was showcased everything that was good about that approach.
Yeah, and I suppose ultimately, yes, maybe there's a 50-50 element, but you're gaining field position and you're giving your players the chance to be able to attain possession in that territory.
Yeah.
And when you've got a Sabu and Corsi, you've got these guys that can charge, that have that kind of pace, it works. Damian Willemse, what do you make of his World Cup debut? There is something, and I'm starting to maybe understand Rassie's. He's kind of the joker in the deck.
Yeah.
He provides that X factor every time he touches the ball.
That's exactly it. I mean, Willemse has always been a talented player. I mean, watched him come up through the school ranks and then at Cravenweek. But so the talent has never been the issue. It's kind of refining everything that comes with the talent, right? That kind of, I wouldn't say cavalier approach, but he's just a free-spirited player. And so when you harness all of that into a structure like the Springboks playing, you get what you saw yesterday. And so, I mean, I don't know how much more he's going to play at the World Cup, but there's no downside to having him at the World Cup. So if Willie gets injured, for example, you bring in a player like him and you lose nothing.
Well, he's cover for 10 ultimately if we need it. He's cover at 15, like you say, but it means we don't have to mess with other structures that seem to be in place. So you wouldn't give him the nod of a Willie?
Not at this point. I just think Willie's experience in a tournament like this is critical. And he's played with this team for a while now, so I think at this point, let's rather keep it like it is.
Alton Yankees, not very often do we get to say, offer a glowing praise of the man, often very much overshadowed by Andre, but 8 conversions, very successful, that the kind of, breakneck speed in the attack, brilliant tackles, breaking the line. That was one of his best games in memory.
Yeah, I've been critical of Alton in the past, but just, again, the value of great coaching for a player like Alton is massive. deserved, right?
Yeah.
So at the Lions, you saw that with under Johan Ackerman, and now under Rassie again. He's the type of player that needs a coach like that. And the important point that you raised is about goal kicking, because goal kicking has won a lot of World Cups.
Most World Cups, yeah.
And we saw it when the Springboks won in 2007 with Percy Montgomery. And goal kicking is so critical. So all of what Alton brings from an attacking dynamic is great, but as a goal kicker, he's invaluable.
You want that. One last player, and I'm glad we touched on him yesterday. RWC Snyman was sublime. Yes.
Right, I called it, eh?
Yeah, no, you did. You did. In fact, every name you mentioned, we've now spoken about today, so well done, buddy. But just so athletic. His little pop passes, deft touches for a guy that must be about 9'2". Such delicate handling of the ball as well. I mean, this is looking good.
He's a phenomenal athlete, and like you say, like a modern day second rower. I haven't seen an athletic five like RWC since Victor Matfield, and even then he's a step kind of above. He's got greater physicality, better ball handling, better spatial awareness, particularly when he's being tackled, and to have a look around him.
Yeah, man, he put players away. He put players away.
He's a phenomenal player, and I mean, just looking ahead at the future, I hope he decides to stay in South Africa, but wherever he goes, the future is bright in that particular position.
Japan or Ireland, who do you think we're going to face?
Japan every day, bro. I told you.
Is that a hope or an expectation?
No, it's an expectation. I think they're a really good team. Like people speak about them as minnows, but they've grown since the last World Cup. And the way they play troubles teams like Ireland, like elite world teams, troubles them because they've got a clear game plan. The blueprint is replicable, and the physicality to match that gives people problems. But I still think we're a step ahead of them.
Yeah, no,
I'd rather get them in the quarterfinal than Ireland.
Oh no, completely. And they play a good territory game as well, dude. I absolutely love your insights. Thank you so much for stepping in. One way or another, regardless of what happens moving forward, I think a massive confidence booster. 66-7, that win over Canada. A really important move for the Springboks to be able to rotate players, and they've been able to do that with aplomb in this match. Ryan, thank you so much.
Absolute pleasure.